Vic and I lifted one of the bodies and carried it towards a grave. I recited the words I say over all the dead now. For thou from our board of time and place, the flood may bear me far. I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar. I don't see how there can be more than this. How anything from these bodies can last when they die so easily and decay so fast. Still, part of me wants to believe that the flood of death carries us someplace after all. That there's someone to see at the end. That the part of me that says the words over the dead when I know they don't hear a thing I say. Why do you say that every time? Vic asks me. I like the sound. Vic waits. He wants me to speak more, but I won't. You know what it means, he asks, finally. It's about someone hoping for more, I tell him, non-committally. It's part of a poem from before the society. Not from the poem that belongs to Cassia and me. I won't speak those words to anyone again until I can tell them to her. The poem I say now is the other one she found in her artifact when she opened it that day in the woods. I didn't know I was there. I stood watching her read the paper. I saw her lips form the words of the poem I didn't know, and then of one I did. When I realized what she was saying about the pilot, I stepped forward and the stick stabbed under my foot. It doesn't do them any good, Vic tells me, gesturing to one of the bodies and then shoving his sandy hair back from his face in irritation. They won't give us scissors or razors for cutting our hair or shaving. Too easy to turn into weapons to kill each other or ourselves. It doesn't usually matter. Only Vic and I have been out here so long enough to have hair that falls in our eyes. So that's all it is. Some old poem? I shrug. It's a mistake. Usually Vic doesn't care when I don't answer him, but this time I see a challenge in his eyes. I start planning the best way to take him down, to increase in firing and affect him too. Put him on edge. He's bigger than me, but not by much. I learned to fight out here years ago. Now that I'm back, I remember it. Like the snow on the plateau, my muscles tense, but Vic stops. You never cut notches in your boots, he says, and his voice back to even and his eyes back to calm. No, I agree. Why? No one needs to know, I say. To know what? How long you've lasted? Vic asks. To know anything about me, I say. We leave the graves behind and take a break for lunch. Sitting on a group of sandstone boulders outside the village, the colors of the road, red, orange, brown of my childhood. Their texture is the same, dry and rough, and in November cold. I use the narrow end of a decoy gun to scratch a mark into the sandstone. I don't want anyone to know I can write. I don't write her name. Instead, I just draw and carve a wave like an ocean or a piece of green silk rolling in the wind. Scratch, scratch. The sandstone snapped, shaped into the focus, water and wind, is now altered by me. Which I like. I always carve myself into what others want me to be. With Cassia on the hill, only then was I truly myself. I'm not ready yet to draw her face. I don't even know if I can, but I scratch another curve into the rock, and it looks a little like a C. I first taught her to write. I make a carve again, remembering her hand. Vic leans over to see what I'm doing. That doesn't look like anything. It looks like the moon, I tell him. When it's thin. Vic glances at the plateau. Earlier today, some airships came for the bodies. That hasn't happened before. I don't know what the society has done with them, but I wish I'd thought to climb up on top of and write something to mark the decoy passings. Because now there is nothing to say that they were ever there. The snow melted before they could make a footprint in it. Their lives ended before they even knew what they could be. You think the boys were lucky? I asked Vic. one who died in camp before we came to the villages? Lucky, Vic says, as if he doesn't know what the word means. And maybe he doesn't. Luck is not a word in society encourages. And it's not something we have much out here. There was firing at first night in the villages. We are starting to run to take cover. A few of the boys ran into the streets with their guns and took a shot at the sky. Vic and I ended in the same house with one or two others. I don't remember their names. They're gone now. Why aren't you out there trying to shoot back? Vic asked me then. We haven't talked to each other much since we put the boys in the river. No reason to, I said. The ammunition isn't real. I put my standard issue gun on the ground next to me. Vic puts his down too. How long have you known? Since they gave him to us on our way here. I said, what about you? The same, Vic answers. We should have told others. I know, I say. I was stupid. I thought we'd have a little more time. Time, Vic says, is what we don't have. The world shattered outside and someone else started screaming. I wish I had a gun that worked, Vic said. I'd blow everyone in those airships away. Pieces of them would come down like fireworks. Finished, Vic says now, folding up his footwear into a sharp silver square. We better get back to work. I wonder why they don't just give us blue tablets, I say. Then they wouldn't have to bother with our meals. Vic looks at me as if I'm crazy. You don't know? Know what? I ask. The blue tablets don't save you. They stop you. If you take one, you'll slow down and stay where you are until someone finds you or you die waiting. Two will finish you outright. I shake my head and look up at the sky. But I'm not looking for anything. I only look to see the blue, to hold my hand up and block the sun so I can see the sky around it. Better no clouds. Sorry, Vic says, but it's true. I glance over at Vic and I think I see concern in his stone hard face. It's so ludicrous, all of it. And then I start to laugh and Vic laughs too. I should have known, I say, if something happened to society, they won't want anyone to live on without them. A few hours later, I hear a beep of the mini port Vic carries. He pulls it from his belt loop and checks the screen. Vic is the only decoy who has a mini port, a device roughly the size of a data pod. A mini port, however, can be used for communication. A data pod only stores information. Vic keeps the mini port with him most of the time, but now and then I would like when he tells a new decoy the truth about the village and the guns, he hides the port somewhere for a little while. We're pretty sure that the society tracks our locations by the mini port. We don't know if they can listen in on us too, and that way they can on a large ports. Vic thinks so. He thinks the society listens all the time. He doesn't think they care. What do they want? I ask Vic as he reads the message on the screen. We're moving, he says. Others fall in line with us as we walk to meet the ship that lands silently outside the village. The officers act hurried as usual. They don't like to spend much time out here. I'm not sure if it's because of us or because of the enemy. I wonder who they think is the bigger threat. He's young, but the officer in charge of the transfer reminds me of the one who used to be in charge of us at the hill back in Oria. His expression says, how did I end up here? What am I supposed to do with these people? So I say, looking out at us up on the plateau, what was that? What happened there? The casualties won't have been nearly so bad if you'd all stay down in the village. There was snow up there this morning and they went up to get it. I said, we're always thirsty. You're sure that's the only reason they were up there? There aren't many reasons to do anything, Vic says. Hunger, thirst, not dying, that's all there is. So if you don't believe us, take your prick from the other two. Maybe they hiked up there for the view, the officer suggested. Vic laughs. It's not a good sound. Where are the replacements? They're on the ship, the officer says. We're going to take you all to a new village. and we'll give you more supplies. And more water, Vic says. Through his unarmed and at mercy of the officer, he sounds like he's the one giving the orders. The officer smiles. The society isn't human, but people who work for it sometimes are. And more water, the officer says. Vic and I both curse under our breaths when we see the replacements on the airship. They are young, much younger than us. They look to be 14, 13. Their eyes are wide framed. One of them, the youngest looking kid, looks like Cass's brother Bram. His darker skin than Bram, darker than me even. But his eyes are bright like Bram's. Before it was cut, his hair must have been curly like Bram's. The society must be running out of bodies, I say to Vic, keeping my voice low. Maybe that's the plan, he says. We both know society wants the aberrations dead. Explains why we're dumped out here. Why we don't get to fight. But there's another question no one can't answer. Why do they hate us so much? We fly blind. The airship is windowless except for the pilot's compartment. So it's not until we step outside that we know where we are. I don't know the village itself, but I know the area. The fields we walk is orange-sanded and black-rocked, yellow-grassed, and the plants that grew green in the summer. There are fields like this one all over the outer provinces. But I still know exactly where I am because of what I see in front of me. My home. It hurts. It is on the horizon, the landmarks of my childhood, the carving. From where we are now, I can see all of it. Just pieces of red and orange sandstone jutting up here and there. But when you get close, when you reach the edge and look into the carving, you realize that the stones aren't small at all. They're just tipped in formations of large mountains. The carving isn't one canyon, one mountain, but a network of interlocking formations that go on for miles. The land raises and falls like water, the high, jagged peaks, the deep slot canyon stripped with its colors of outer province graduation of orange, red, and white. In the faraway stretches of the carvings, the fire colors in the sandstone grows shadowed with the blue and distant clouds. I know all this because I've been on the edge of this several times, but I've never been inside. What are you grinding about? Vic asked me, but before I can answer, the Bram kid comes up to us and gets right in Vic's face. I'm Eli, the kid says. All right, Vic says, then turns away in irritation back to the row of faces who have selected them as their leader, even when he never wanted to be one. Some people can't help being leaders. It's in their blood and their bones and their brains, and there's no getting around it. And some people follow. You have a better chance of surviving if you follow, I remind myself. Your father thought he was a leader. Couldn't get enough of being a leader. And look what happened to him. I stand one step behind Vic. Aren't you going to give us a speech or anything? Eli asks. We just got here. I'm not in charge of this mess, Vic says, and there it is. The anger that he spends most of his energy keeping checked shows a little. I'm not a society spokesman, but you're the one with one of those, Eli says, pointing to the port clip on Vic's belt. You want a speech? Vic asks, and all of the new kids nod and stare at him. They'll have heard the same lecture we did when we came into the airships, but the society needs us to act like villagers and civilians to draw out the enemy. It's not only a 6-month job, but once you get back to society, our aberration status will be wiped clean. It will take exactly 1 day of firing for them to realize that no one lasts 6 months. Not even Vic comes close to having that many notches in his boots. Watch the rest of us, Vic says. Act like villagers, that's what we're supposed to do here. He pauses, and then he pulls the port from his belt and tosses the decoy, who has been around a couple of weeks. Take this for a run, he says. Make sure it still works out by the end of the town. The kid takes it, and as soon as the port's out of earshot, Vic says, the ammunition is all blank, so don't bother trying to defend yourself. Eli interrupts. But we practiced firing with them back in training camp, he protests. I start grinning in spite of myself. And the fact that I should and I do feel sick that someone so young ended up out here. This kid is like Bram. Doesn't matter, Vic says. They're all blanks now. Eli digested this, But then he said another question. If this is a village, where are all the women and kids? You're a kid, Vic says. I'm not, Eli says. I'm not a girl. Where are they? No girls, Vic says. No women here. But then anybody must know it's not a real village then, Eli says. They must have figured it out. Right, Vic says. They're killing us anyways. No one cares. And now we've got work to do. We're supposed to be villagers full of farms. So let's get farming. We start towards the fields and the sun shines hot over the head, and we can feel Eli's anger gaze even after we turn away from him. At least we have enough water to drink, I say to Vic, gesturing to the full canteen. Thank you. Don't thank me, Vic says, as he lowers his voice. There's not enough to drown in. The crops here are cotton, nearly impossible to grow. The poor quality wisps inside the cotton balls came apart easily. No wonder we don't worry about there being no girls or kids, Eli says behind me. The enemy must know this isn't a real village just from looking at it. No one would be stupid enough to farm cotton out here. At first, I don't answer him. I haven't fallen in the trap of talking to anyone while we work, except for Vic. I've stayed away from all others. But I'm weak now. The con today and the snow yesterday have made me think again of Cassia's story of the cottonwood seeds snowing in June. The society hated the cottonwood trees, but they are exactly the kind of trees that were right in the outer provinces, and the wood grew good for carving if you could find one. I would carve in the bark her name, and that way I would use to cover her hand in mine on the hill. I start talking to Eli, who keeps from wanting what's too hard to have. It's stupid, I tell Eli, but it's more realistic than any stuff that the society has done. A few of the villagers around here started as farmer communities in the aberrations. Cotton was the one of the crops the society had them try and grow. This is what back when they had more water. It's not completely impossible that someone would be farming here. Oh, Eli says, and then he falls silent, but I don't know why I'm trying to give him hope. Maybe it was remembering of the cottonwood seeds or remembering her. If I look over later, I see that Eli is crying, but it's not enough to drown in, so I don't do anything yet. On our walk back to the village from the field, I jerk my head at Vic, our signal that I want to talk without the port. Here, he says, tossing the port to Eli, who stopped crying. Take this for a run. Eli nods and takes off. What is it? Vic says. I used to live near here, I say, trying to keep my emotions from my voice. This part of the world used to be my home. I hate what the society has done to it. My village was only a few miles away. I know the area. So are you going to run? Vic asks. There it is, the real question, the one we ask ourselves all the time. Am I going to run? I've thought about it every day, every hour. Are you thinking about going back to your village, Vic says? Can someone there help you? No, I said, it's gone. Vic shakes his head. There's no point in running. We can't go far without someone seeing us. And the closest river is too far away. I say, we can't escape that way. Then how, Vic asks. We're not going to go across or down. We're going to go through. Vic turns. Through what? The canyon, I tell him, pointing to the carving near us, miles long and cut with the little openings impossible to see from here. If you hike in far enough, there's fresh water. The officers tell us that the canyons in the outer provinces are crawling with anomalies. Vic says, I've heard that too, I admit. But some of them have built a settlement and they help travelers. I heard that from people who've been inside. Wait, you know people who have gone into the canyons? Vic asks. I knew people who had been there, I say. People you could trust? My father, I say, as if the end of the conversation, and Vic nods. We take a few more steps. So when do we leave? Vic asks. That's the problem, I say, trying not to let him see how relieved I am he'll come. Facing those canyons is something I'd rather not do alone. To keep the society from hunting us down and making an example of us. The best time to go is during the firing when there's chaos, like the night firing, but with a full moon so we can see. They might think we're dead instead of escaped. Vic laughs. Well, the society and the enemy have infuriated whoever above will see us run. I know, but they might miss 3 little bodies when we're plenty more right here. 3, Vic asked. Eli's coming with us. I hadn't known until I said it. Silence. You're crazy, Vic says. There's no way that kid will last it until then. I know, I told Vic. He's right. It's only a matter of time before Eli goes down. He's small, he's impulsive. He asks too many questions. And then again, it's only a matter of time before all of us. So why keep him around? Why bring him along? There's a girl I know back in Oria. I say, he reminds me of her brother. That's not a reason enough. It is for me, I say. Silence stretches between us. You're getting weak, Vic says finally, and then that might kill you. Means you never will see her again. If I don't look out for him, Vic says, I'd be someone she didn't even know, even if she did see me again.